Hey, it's Rob and welcome to Axel's Garage. This is the final video in our Milwaukee fuel brushless 3/8 stubby impact. It's the 12 volt, it's the M12. It's got a lot of names, this tool, but we've run it through its gamut, and I'm going to put a link right up here to the whole playlist. You can go from one all the way to the end. So now we started off trying to determine what the forward operating torques were if you were tightening bolts up using the impact, because even though you're supposed to use the impact to take bolts off, we know the truth is a lot of people use it to tighten. So what we wanted to do was get a baseline on what it was tightening at. So we had a big bolt, got it right here. We had a big 5/8 bolt with a 15/16 nut on the end, and I thought this was a great test bolt. So we had it clamped in the vise, a drop or two of 3-in-1 oil on the threads, hardened washer, and we were spinning it down. So, but 15/16. So the only 15/16 impact socket that I had was 1/2-inch drive. So I had to use an adapter to knock it down to 3/8. Well, we knew that that adapter kills torque. We know that. We're not going to debate that. We know that. How much torque does it kill? Some people say up to 5 to 20%. I don't know. What I do know is what we found was pretty amazing. So we used this, and we tightened down in mode 1, 45 foot-pounds. In mode 2, 65 foot-pounds. And in mode 3, 125 foot-pounds. And that was just running it down and giving it about 1.5 seconds of impacting. Just counting in my head, nothing technical, nothing scientific. And those were the torque values that we got. And we said, okay, all right, I can live with that. At least I know where my baseline is. And then we ran it down for 7 seconds. And we wanted to see, what 7 seconds would do. And it put it to about 160 or so foot-pounds. We're estimating, because our torque wrench only goes to 150, and we estimated to the 160. I'm comfortable with how we estimated. Watch the video if you're not comfortable with it, but if you didn't watch the video, that's what the numbers were. And then a buddy of mine said, and I actually got an email on it, said, well, that's a big fastener. I wonder what do we do with a more realistic automotive size fastener, right? So what do we get? We got a 1/2-inch bolt. 1/2-inch bolt's got a 3/4-inch nut on it, which is, a 1/2-inch lug nut, for argument's sake. And we got this one, oh, that one's not that tight. So we got this one, same setup, same grade 8 hardened, with a washer, a little oil on the threads, in the vise, same thing. So now we went with this one also. And just to compare apples and apples, we used the 1/2-inch socket, 1/2-inch drive socket for the 3/4 bolt with the adapter, right? And we wanted to see what it did. And it was the same battery we used, and we were using a 3-amp-hour battery. In the first test with the big one, we tried to determine whether a 2-amp-hour and a 3-amp-hour battery made a difference, and we couldn't find any measurable difference in the two. So we were doing the test with the 3. So now we go run this on, do the same exact test we did before, and instead of getting 45 foot-pounds in mode 1, we were down to 25 foot-pounds in mode 1. And then again, instead of 65 in mode 2, we were down to 45 in mode 2, and lost 20 again. And then in mode 3, instead of 125, we were down to 85 foot-pounds. And when we gave it that 7-second blast, we actually lost 50 foot-pounds down to 110. Does it matter? Maybe not. It is what it is. Is that good? Is that bad? That's up for you to decide, and that's for your use of the gun. But why? And what our determination was, didn't have to do with the size of the fastener. So the size of the fastener really doesn't matter. What matters is mass. Mass matters. The weight of the socket, because we use this adapter on both of them, right? And I got a scale here. This smaller socket weighs 7.7 ounces. The big socket weighs 11.3 ounces. So now you have a socket that's got more mass, and that more mass, every time it hits, its weight, its centrifugal force, its weight moving, and it's increasing the torque. And that's what we thought. So even though we were losing torque with this adapter, we still did we still have more torque because we had heavy sockets? Well, we took it to the next level, and we took the same half-inch bolt with 3/4 inch nut in the vise the same exact way, and we used a 3/4 inch socket. So the mass, our initial mass, okay, where we got 25 foot-pounds, right, 9.8 ounces. And now we got this socket just by itself, 6.35. Mode 1, same thing, didn't change, 25 foot-pounds. The only change was from this big heavy one. Then we went mode 2, 45 foot-pounds, same thing. And then mode 3, 85 foot-pounds, same thing. And then when we really ran it home for 7 seconds, it was about 110 to 115 foot-pounds, whether we used the adapter with the heavy socket, right, much heavier setup, or this one, a much lighter setup. But here's the thing. The much heavier setup is losing torque because of the adapter. This one doesn't have the torque loss of the adapter, right? We already determined that this adapter is going to lose torque. Well, if this adapter loses torque, and I take this adapter away, I take this away and I use this one, then we should have got an increase in torque, and we didn't. And we didn't because this socket only weighs 6.3 ounces, where this, even though we got the torque-killing adapter here, together it weighs 9.8 ounces. So whatever torque that this took away didn't change this because the overall weight made up for the torque loss. You follow what I'm saying? The heavier the socket, the more torque it had. And I didn't expect those results, but those are the results. The smaller the socket, the less torque the tool applied because of that rotational mass. So then we wanted to take this and we wanted to determine if we could get any difference in performance by using a higher rated battery, meaning the 4 or 6 amp hour. So we went out and we bought a 6 amp hour battery, and we used this socket, no adapter, the lightweight socket with a 6 amp hour battery. And in mode 1 we didn't see any change. In mode 2 we didn't see any change. It was still 25 and then 45. And those are workable torques in mode 1 and mode 2, and mode 3, 85. So we had 25, 45, and 85 foot-pounds, mode 1, 2, and 3, running it down, giving it about a 1.5-second blast. Those are workable torques as long as you know where you want to get. You want to get into that ballpark of 80 to 90? Yeah, mode 3. You want to get into that ballpark of around 40 to 50? Yeah, mode 2. You want to go from 20 to 30? Yeah, mode 1. At least you know when you're getting in that ballpark, whether you want to finish it off by hand or with a torque wrench. You know, that's up to you. But we didn't see a change in just normal use with that 6 amp hour battery from a 3 amp hour battery. What we did see the change was when we took this and we laid into it for 7 seconds after it started impacting. So we ran it down. Once it started impacting, in my head I counted 7 seconds. Did it several times. The 3 amp hour battery, 7 seconds, gave us 110 or so foot-pounds. 6 amp hour battery, 145 foot-pounds, nearing 150. It was right on the edge. It was just under 150. You can watch all the videos. You can see how we did it. It's unscientific, but it's real-world, reasonable way of doing it, that we measured it with a torque wrench. So that 6 amp hour battery increased the torque when you were making the tool work the hardest. Why? I guess it's got less drop-off than the small batteries. But what we learned was that mass matters, and if you want to get the most out of the tool, you need to use the heaviest sockets. And when you use the heaviest sockets, they're 1/2 inch drive. So maybe buying the 3/8, if you're only going to buy one of the tools, I was thinking, let me get the 3/8 because I could get into smaller areas with the 3/8 sockets. And then if I want to use it on a bigger fastener, I usually would have more room, bigger fastener, more room, I'll use an adapter and step it up. losing torque with an adapter, but not really losing that much torque because now I got a heavier socket. But should that have been my thinking? I don't think so. I think if I could only buy one, it should have been the 1/2 inch. So, what did we do? 1/2 inch. We got the 1/2 inch. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to do these same tests in a new playlist, and we're going to test the 1/2 inch and see what the 1/2 inch does using the same sockets, the same tests, and the only difference now is going to be the weight of that anvil. All right? So then we know the guts are the same, the internals are the same, the drive motor is the same, the anvil has got more mass. So now we're going to use sockets that have more mass, and we're going to be able to get the most out of the tool. And then when I want to go into a smaller area or use smaller sockets, I'll step it down to a 3/8, because generally speaking, on the 3/8 sockets, smaller fasteners, I'm not going to need as much torque. And I think if you got to buy one, the 1/2 inch is the one to buy, and step it down and use 3/8. Even though you're going to hurt your room a little bit by having to use an adapter with 3/8, I think when you really want to use the tool to its max capacity, you got to have that 1/2 inch anvil. And we're going to either prove or disprove that. Is it a theory? I don't know. I always get confused with that stuff. But anyway, in the next playlist, we're going to go through the 1/2 inch version of the M12 Stubby, and we'll try it with different batteries, we'll try it with different socket sizes and different socket weights. Hope you enjoyed this video series on the M12 3/8 Stubby. We ran through every possible scenario that I could come up with, aside from taking bolts off. This was all about tightening torque, because there's 100 videos, if not more, out there on people busting nuts loose with these, both the 1/2 inch and the 3/8 drive. Very few are showing what the tightening torque is and the reason behind different variations in tightening torque, like socket weights. I mean, look here. You know, we went from like 12.5 ounces in this setup, and then we're using a socket that was, you know, 6.5 ounces or so, and that made a big difference. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you've experienced similar issues with impact tools where the size of the socket, it makes a noticeable difference in how much torque it applies to the fastener, let me know. Is that why when people are taking off bolts, what I should say nuts, when people are taking off nuts that are ginormous nuts, and they're torqued to like 225, 250 or so, and they're getting them off with this, are they getting those nuts off because they're using such a big socket? I think they are. I think it's that big socket that's allowing them, because I'm telling you, you tighten a grade 8 3/4 inch nut to 200 foot-pounds, you ain't getting it off with one of these. But if you take a 1-inch bolt with a big honking nut on it and put that big heavy honking socket on it and put it to 200 foot-pounds, are you getting it off with this? I've seen people do it. There's videos out there with people doing it. And I think it's because of the socket size. It's mass matters. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think. And as always, thanks for watching.